Hey, so do you think you're better at? Well, stop it. Because I don't think there's such a thing, in truth, as being bad at art. I think what a lot of people mean is they're not skilled at some kind of artistic technique. But I think every human being has an intrinsic part of their coding that's creative, whether it be problem solving or using your imagination to come up with new ideas or new projects. I think every human being has the capacity to be creative. And I also think a lot of those people are being robbed of the joy of creating because of lies they believe about what it takes to be an artist or be creative. And so I wanted to talk about that today to see if I could maybe convince you of how I feel about it. So a lot of people think you need to be born talented to be able to pursue some kind of art form well. Even something like a proficiency at playing musical instruments like the piano, or understanding things that's advantageous to maths or science, or any field really that humans set out on enterprises with. And I think talent most of the time is not what it seems. It's almost like a myth. It's just a word that's used quite arbitrarily. When I was tiny, my teachers would very often, well, and family members and other adults would tell me I was talented. But what they really meant was they were impressed that compared to a lot of the other kids, I was good at copying an image. So we would draw a flower or a historic portrait or one of our classmates, and copying something that you see in front of you for some reason was easier for my brain to handle. The spatial reasoning and what have you. And I think that is not exactly what being an artist is. For a long time, that is all I did as a form of practice, and I enjoyed doing it. But I didn't really know how to create original work. And that's something that's something that needed me to learn how to flex my creative muscle. I think creativity is like a muscle. People think I'm just not creative because I tried my hand at something and I didn't find it effortless, which is preposterous if you try to apply it to any other field other than something creative or artistic. So I really feel like a lot of people just haven't given themselves a chance to develop that creative muscle, to get themselves frequently in a mindset where they're thinking outside the box or just purely indulging in their own imagination and trying to replicate it in some way, some kind of artistic, cathartic way of expressing yourself or your ideas. And over time, the more you do this, obviously, the more your brain is able to take inspiration from things it observes, it hears, media, just things it imagines, other art forms that it sees. Making anything into an art form takes a lot of patience and dedication. And I think there's this weird myth that unless art comes really easily to you straight away, you're not artistic or talented. Or unless you know what you're doing straight away in some kind of creative thing, like a scrapbooking exercise or a visual display for a school assignment, whatever it may be, trying to play piano for the first time. Anything creative and it just doesn't come to you immediately, you think it's just not right for you. But I think people with all different kinds of brain wiring can become very proficient in whatever passion they want to pursue, whether it's artistic or something else, something more practical like engineering. I think people can make that into an art form through dedication and ideas and thinking outside the box. I think creativity is something that, to some extent, all humans of all walks in life have to employ just to survive. And it's just something that you need to nourish for it to grow. You need to believe in your own innate creativity. This is one of the beautiful gifts humankind has been given to make life worth living beyond just the day-to-day making ends meet. I think something that discourages people and holds them back is that they have a very sort of superficial attempt at something artistic that they would like to be able to do, and maybe they make some progress and it's going great, and they don't really get any response from other people, usually posting online on social media and trying to get work doing this kind of thing. And I think there's a lot of impatience there. I feel like this modern age has a lot of instant conveniences and quick fixes and cheap ways of doing things that make people feel impatient for results. But I think if you want to be an artist, it's a choice. And I think it's innate with anyone to be creative. And if there's some kind of need you feel where there's something missing and you're not satisfied creatively, you're not expressing yourself, you just feel this sense of longing and lack, I'd say it's really important for that type of person to overcome these lies they believe in, these obstacles, and just knuckle down and take it seriously, because it can be very fulfilling, and I think it's a very important part of human civilization. I mean, look at all the most beautiful sculptures and artworks and pieces of music in history that have just inspired millions of people and have made the world a more beautiful place. Why wouldn't you want to be part of that? I think it's a really beautiful and brilliant part of being creative, that even if you're just starting out some kind of art skill, you have an idea and you try your best to create it on paper or something. And it's not exactly as you imagined, but that thing you've created, it wasn't there 5 minutes ago before you had the idea. You've brought this thing into being. You are a creative being. And whether or not you're happy with the result, this idea, this image, this soundscape, whatever it may be, you've added it to the library of the world's memory of art and expression. It exists now because of you, whether or not a lot of people see it online. When you develop those creative muscles, you get skilled at whatever it is you're trying to do. You finally get to a point where what you're trying to create is in some further extent what you wanted it to be. And that's an incredible sense of achievement, to be able to express yourself like that. And it's worth working toward. And I think things like trying to draw a perfect circle, a lot of people say, I couldn't be an artist, I can't even draw a circle. There's literally an ancient Japanese art form about trying to draw a circle. And if you become a master at this, your circles still won't be geometrically perfect, but they'll be very impressively close, whatever it is. If you're not someone who feels the need to be creatively fulfilled, but rather you have some idea in your head that if you develop an art skill, it's a really easy way to make money or to gain popularity or to do something more fun than what you'd normally do as work, I think you're going to be sorely disappointed with the ratio from practice and dedication to the results you want. I mean, it's not impossible, but it would be just so much easier if you could find something you were passionate about, something you loved doing, to develop skills. I really think that you need to be interested genuinely in what you're doing to do really well at it, and I think it shows in the results. I think if there's some particular artists you admire, or whatever type of art form they practice, and you just basically want to be that person, I think that's another motivation that's gonna dry up really quickly for you. I think the best motivation for developing artistic ability or fulfillment, or whatever you want to call it, is finding something that only you can do. And you may not immediately feel like there's anything only you can do, but that will come with time. If you follow your personal interests, you can try different types of art, and one of them will just feel like you love it more than all the others. You'd rather be doing that at any given time. For me, that's probably drawing with pens or pencils. But I know for some people, that's nowhere near as fun as, say, using their hands for sculpting or playing an instrument or acting or dancing. A lot of things I really like to be good at, but I just don't have quite enough interest to hold that level of dedication it would take. Whereas drawing is something I've always been interested in. But to say that talent is what you need, I think is a complete fallacy. I mean, if I'd only just copied drawings, I'd have nothing to show for it now, no original work. I wouldn't have really learned anything beyond looking at something and trying to replicate it. And you've got to allow yourself to feel inspired and awestruck by whatever type of art that you're into. If you see an art form that you're filled with this sense of inspiration and desire to be able to explore that art form, I'd say try it, but don't just give up straight away if it's hard. Try a few different things a lot of times. You'll definitely get a sense of what allows your brain to connect with what you're doing. You know, some brains are really good at learning through repetition. Some brains are wired to seek novelty and dopamine constantly. Some are a mix of both. Obviously, the way my brain's wired made it easier for me than others as a child to copy an image that I'd seen in a book or something like that and replicate it fairly well. And that was very impressive to a lot of my teachers, but I don't think it would have gotten me very far in life to have just stayed doing that and called myself an artist. Once you start practicing art, whatever it is that you love doing, make sure to follow your true passions. Don't lie to yourself. If you see a really impressive painting of scenery and it blows your mind and you get this brief sense of, wow, that's really impressive, I wish I could do that, but overall, you're not really passionate about scenery, forcing yourself to be able to paint scenery very well is going to be a real slog. So whatever it is you actually love immersing yourself in and observing and memorizing things you see and you can't get it out of your head, you know, say you absolutely love woodland animals and that's something that you've been consistently sort of passionate about. That's going to come through in your work if you focus in on learning your art skills through that. I think over time, you learn to pick up inspiration from all kinds of places and it will come through in your work, and without having to try really hard to become original or have something unique to offer that only you can do, it will happen. You'll find something that when you make it makes you happy, and that's the most important thing. If you can't satisfy yourself with the kind of thing you're doing, you won't be happy even if people online give you 1,000 likes for it, because you did something you didn't want to do. And over time, things like an internet audience, it fluctuates, it's fickle, it's sometimes very superficial. You know, I wouldn't put too much of your self-esteem into something like that. I know that there are artists who I crazily admire who have smaller followings online than me. And it doesn't make much sense to me other than I think I'm just online a lot more, interacting with algorithms. And once you get hooked onto that kind of reward system for your artistic endeavors, it's very toxic and draining. And you really need to focus on working on that in your own space, just you and what you're working on. You don't have to share it straight away. Just try to enjoy the process. You don't have to be technically skilled at drawing perspective or human anatomy or anything like that. The fundamentals of, say, drawing. I think if you follow your passion and let yourself experiment and just try to please yourself, you'll find things flourishing in a more organic way, in a more natural way, observing the things you're interested in and trying to find ways that satisfy you to express that thing is going to be far more encouraging once you start getting the results you like. There are so many artists that I admire who don't really exhibit, at least, traditional technical skills in drawing. Things like very naively composed, cute creatures or woodland scenes, very figurative, symbolic. I actually sometimes envy these people because I try to replicate what seems like a very simple, straightforward way of creating art, and I find it near impossible. But it shows they've really actually made an art form of what they do. And I think you have the potential to do that too. You know, one thing I did when I struggled with whether I should keep pursuing drawing or if I had my own art style or what I could contribute is I actually drew like an ikigai type brainstorm thing. And I sort of put down my strengths and weaknesses, things I'm not that bothered about improving and things I really would like to improve on because I really care about that. The kind of art I'd like to see in the world more of, the subjects I feel like I know well or I'm passionate about. And I just made this big mind map and thought, you know, if I just hone in on these things and try not too hard to worry about the rest, sort of doing things in a certain order, doing things in a really technically proficient way, or learning how to do all the things I'm really not interested in, like drawing an automobile really well. Although that may be something you're really into. But I just decided to wipe that off the table and focus on what I love drawing. And if you love doing it, if you get satisfaction and creative release from doing these things, it won't have such a strong hold on you, whether or not anyone, including yourself, considers it good, which I think is, when it comes to art, not really a relevant label. Eventually there will be people who think that particular thing you do, even if it's really niche and really weird and drawn really strangely, there are going to be people who love it. But the important thing is that you love it and you've found this way to fill that creative hole in your life. Enjoy the satisfaction of being an artist and the fact that it's a gift to the artist and to the world. This is what makes humans different to all the other animals on the planet. And I think it's a shame that people hold back from it for very archaic and strange reasons. You don't have to learn all the boring things that don't interest you. If you lean that way, if you want to be able to technically draw a perfectly proportioned human body, or if you want to, say, draw animals really well, I think it would be rewarding to do that for you. If you want to go that realistic route, but you don't have to. You want to pursue the aspects of art that make you feel good, that feel like I could keep doing this and be inspired to come up with new ways of doing it. It doesn't have to be conventional. It doesn't have to be immediately popular or monetizable. I think these things can come with time as you hone in your skills, as you learn how to put yourself out there and find your unique identity as an artist. But I really think you just need to go for it, be patient, and see it as a journey to enjoy rather than something you just keep trying and can't get any better at, like some kind of school lesson. I think it's an exploration that you can really enjoy and find new aspects of yourself while you're doing. So even if you are trying to draw something, even if you're trying to draw technically well and you're frustrated, so your drawings come out a little bit wonky, maybe the anatomy's off, maybe the colors don't seem quite right and you're not quite sure why, that doesn't mean you're bad at art. It just means you didn't like the way that turned out. You still have a ways to go with technical skill. Technical skills take a lot of patience. I honestly don't have many of them because I crave the sensuality of just embracing and sketching what I think is cool, rather than trying to replicate a stuffy scene from a Louvre painting. A lot of people have historically tried to tell other humans what art is and gatekeep the art community and decide what art is valuable. I mean, even now, people decide through very behind the scenes, unsavory ways which artists to promote and which not to, whose art is worth money and whose isn't. And I think it's best just to keep away from even thinking about that nonsense. Once you find a type of art that you really love doing and something you love representing or playing with, it could be a really exciting new journey for you. A whole new part of your life gets fulfilled. And I really think there is a part of every human that is naturally creative and has the ability to develop these skills. I mean, like the creative muscle skill, the skill of picking and choosing and discerning what to keep and what to get rid of. I don't mean technical skills, although that's something you might want to do as well. Once you get along on your journey and you'll look back at things that you did a long time ago and you'll be able to discern the things you got wrong, the things you don't like about it, the things that aren't quite you. And that's proof that you're growing into yourself as an artist. Not necessarily getting better at some kind of particular skill. I think you just get better at being you. I think it's a complete waste of time to wallow in jealousy of other people or want to be like them. I think there's a lot of people who are inspirational, who you can admire a lot, and their work can give you drive to keep going. But just to try and replicate something you've already seen, it's going to be an unfulfilling path, I think. I think if you're someone who's sensitive to criticism and easily discouraged, it's important to keep your work to yourself for a while. Because with art, you can't get an objective opinion or rating on how you're doing. You could get really successful and there's going to be people who hate what you do. Or you could go a really niche route that a lot of people don't understand and don't get, or they think it's creepy or weird or whatever it may be. But when there's people who actually love and appreciate and see what you're doing for what it is, that'll be far more satisfying than some arbitrary template that you're trying to fill. I hope you'll just start experimenting, start enjoying the process. You only live once, life's short, everyone has an opinion, it doesn't have to be any of your business. Just do what you love, take inspiration from all kinds of places, and follow your bliss, as long as you're not hurting anyone, express yourself however you want. I mean, the idea of art being something where there's rules or skills that you need to acquire is a complete lie. I think it's a gift for you to enjoy. And I hope that you find a way to feel creatively fulfilled, if that's what you want. But don't think that you're bad at art, because I don't think it's a true sentence. I don't think it's really possible. I'm planning to make some more videos about the artistic journey for people who may be a little bit further along in it. But if you're just toing and froing right now about whether or not to pursue it, I hope this has helped. And I wish you the best of luck and courage and perseverance on your journey. And I'm looking forward to seeing what brilliant art is going to come in the future from someone just like you who didn't think they could do it. If you decide after watching this to go for it, I'd love for you to let me know. That'd make my heart so happy. So just don't believe the lies, don't believe in the gatekeeping nonsense, and do what you want to do.